The vaccine, it gets the official nod from the FDA, but many states are going to offer the vaccine to prisoners before the general public. Biden and Harris are named Time's Person of the Year. The magazine says Fauci and frontline workers are Guardians of the Year. And Harrison Ford, he's set to reprise his Indiana Jones role for the 5th and final movie. We've got that and much more coming up, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters on this Friday. And hey, happy Hanukkah for those of you who are celebrating this week. I'm Hillary Kennedy. I'm filling in for Sarah Gonzalez while she is on maternity leave. And today I get to hang out with two of the most fun and funny men in the building, starting with Mr. Pat Gray, host of Pat Gray Unleashed here on BlazeTV.
Hello.
Hello. And then Jeff Fisher, host of Chewing the Fat.
Hi, hello,
Jeffy
Hillary.
here on
How are
BlazeTV.
you?
I'm doing
Pat.
great.
Jeffy. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Very formal. This is going great already. I love it. So we're going to start off talking about the vaccine because that's what everybody's been talking about this week. So Pfizer, their vaccine is going to get the official nod from the FDA. So the vaccinations could start Monday. We have a clip.
Well, George, I've got some good news for you here on Good Morning America that just a little bit ago, the FDA informed Pfizer that they do intend to proceed towards an authorization for their vaccine. So in the next couple of days, probably, as we work to negotiate with Pfizer the information doctors need to prescribe it appropriately, we should be seeing the authorization of this first vaccine. And we'll, as you just said, we will work with Pfizer to get that shipped out. And so we could be seeing people getting vaccinated Monday, Tuesday of next week.
So they're saying that they have millions of vaccinations. They're ready to be shipped in short order once they get the formal approval. I think a lot of people are really excited and depending on this because they want things to go back to normal as soon as possible. Of course,
They're banking
no way of
on
knowing
this
if that's going to
vaccine.
happen.
Yeah, they are banking on it.
So first of all, I mean, I know you guys have probably talked about this on your shows respectively, but for people who haven't heard, how do you feel about the vaccine? Would you be willing to take it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I trust American businesses, and Pfizer is one. Moderna is one. AstraZeneca. I kind of trust them. I don't know if I jump out in the front, which I can't do anyway because they've got a certain amount of people that they want to inoculate first. But we should probably mention what an incredible miracle this is.
No kidding.
These vaccines take 2, 4, 5, 6, 10 years. In some cases, it never happens. AIDS, there's no vaccine for AIDS yet.
And that's what they said in the very beginning, right? That it was, well, we're going to work on this vaccine, but it's going to be 2, 3 years.
It will be years.
Yeah.
So, a lot of credit has to go to the president for pushing this this situation the way he did with Operation Warp Speed, with pouring huge amounts of money into it and removing regulations and clearing the way. It's an absolute miracle that this has happened already.
Sure.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It sure is. And look, do I want to take it? No. Am I going to take it? Probably. I mean, I want to be able to go about my business and have my little vaccine wristband on or whatever little mark they're going to give me to say that I've got my vaccine and I can shop at this store now.
And we want to get back to normal. This is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's the only way.
When you mentioned President Trump, do you think he will ever get any credit for making this happen?
No, and they'll ignore all the people trying to give him credit. CNN will never acknowledge it. MSNBC will never acknowledge it. And it's pathetic because this is absolutely amazing and unprecedented in the history of the world.
Yeah.
It's really a shame. It's a shame.
Yes, it is. And now we are going to, all we'll hear is that it's because of Trump that America is getting it first. Right? Isn't that what Melinda Gates was saying, is that she was disappointed that Americans are getting it first? Okay, Melinda, take
First
care.
of all, Brits got it first. They've already had some of the injections.
Right. And then Canada.
Yeah.
Canada started it.
And then secondly, we invented it. We should get it first.
That's a good point. Well, and Pat, you mentioned, they have kind of a list of who will be getting it first once the doses are available.
Yeah.
Well, apparently there are 9 states, at least 9, that are going to place prisoners in jails ahead of the general public getting the COVID-19 vaccination. So here's these 9 states that we know of: Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Massachusetts, Nebraska, North Carolina, Montana, Nevada, and New Mexico. And that's according to the Washington Post. So the U.S. currently houses around 1.4 million people in state and federal prisons, and then nearly 1 million more in local jails and other detention centers. So these inmates are going to be part of phase 1, which also includes our healthcare workers, our first responders, those in homeless shelters, and then phase 2 beginning in February. That will include other high-risk people as well as school teachers, sanitation, and public works employees. And then the Colorado Sun reported that the draft plan for the state in their vaccine prioritization sent to the CDC specifically places people in prisons and jails in a higher priority tier than healthy adults who are age 65 or older. So why do you think they're focusing on prisons first?
There's a couple of possibilities. One, maybe they're more expendable than the rest of the population. So if prisoners start growing tails, we could say, okay, maybe we don't use the vaccine on the rest of the populace.
Right.
But also they're in close quarters, and we all know that a lot of prison populations have been ravaged by COVID, and so it spreads through these populations like crazy, and lots of prisoners have died from this. And so I think, maybe they're trying to mitigate that problem a little bit. But you might want to start in nursing homes, too, if that's the case, because we've had an awful lot of deaths there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
No kidding. Well, that is part of one, right? The nursing homes are part of either phase 1A or 1B, however they're doing it, right? And then I'm a little surprised that we're throwing homeless people in there, too, because it's a 2-shot plan. And I'm not sure that
that's in Massachusetts.
Bill, the homeless guy, gets a shot on Tuesday. He's going to come back 2 weeks from now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it does. Like you mentioned, states have kind of a phase 1A, phase 1B.
Right.
And so in Massachusetts, their phase 1, I believe phase 1A includes the homeless shelters. But then the Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker said our plan for the first round of vaccine shipments maximizes life-saving care for our most vulnerable residents and protects healthcare workers first responders, workers doing COVID-facing work. And then North Carolina is making this part of their phase 1B, including their prisoners. So
I mean, everyone's for making the healthcare workers and the frontline workers the first ones, right? I mean, there's no question about that. So after that, okay, let's just get them out there. Let's go.
Right. So it sounds like by February, the majority of people who work in other kind of high-risk settings, the teachers and things like that, will be available. And then I guess later in the spring, it will be more widely available to the rest of us, if not sooner. I mean, they're not really sure how soon it'll happen, but I think that's good news.
Have they said how many million doses they have that are ready for this coming week?
Because I thought the first round was 100 million, right?
But they cut that way back.
And then,
way back.
And then they paused the second order that we were supposed to get.
Well, the latest I heard was that Pfizer had about 6.4 million doses ready. Well, that's not going to go real far because you need 2 doses, and that would only mean 3.1 million people can have it initially.
Right.
When we have 24 million nursing home residents and frontline workers. So I'm hoping they have more than we heard the other day.
Yeah, this information just says millions, so it doesn't say how many millions, but,
we need a lot
but they've
of
got millions
millions.
ready. Yeah.
But maybe between Pfizer and Moderna, they get that covered.
I'll have enough.
And they've already been practicing for the deliveries, right? I mean, they've got it because the Pfizer is the one that has to be stored in subarctic temperatures forever, right?
Right.
And then
Almost
the
100 below.
Moderna isn't quite as cold as that.
Yeah.
So, hopefully let's ship it, let's keep it cold, let's go.
Right. Well, and we don't have quite as stringent rules regarding our vaccines. Did you see that in Russia, they were advising people no alcohol for 2 months, I believe, if they're going to get the vaccine like a month before and a month after or whatever it was. So people weren't very happy because everybody there, not everybody there, a majority of their country, they're like the third largest consumer of alcohol in the world. So Russians not too happy about their vaccine requirements. So there is a hospital in LA that was treating COVID-19 patients earlier in the spring. Well, now it appears to be the site of a full-scale Hollywood production. Really interesting. It's the former St. Vincent Medical Center. So it had shut down. They reopened it kind of as an emergency care place in the spring because they were expecting to be overwhelmed at all of their other hospitals. It was closed just after 39 days of operation.
It didn't happen.
Right. They treated 64 patients. 9 of them died, but their hospitals weren't overwhelmed, so there really wasn't.
Yeah, that was a big deal. The hospital was going under, and the guy was going to buy it, and he went before a judge and said, look, I've got to buy it. I need the okay. I need to go ahead because we're going to open it up, and we're going to make it this extra special hospital for COVID-19 patients. And they were like, yep, okay, good. And they made the deal with the city, and LA was all happy. And then, they're standing around at the front door waiting for patients, and nobody showed up. I mean, very few patients showed up. So then they closed it down. And now, they're thinking that they're saying we're supposed to have this big surge again. And he's trying to make money with this building that he purchased, the old hospital. So he's, got the movie company there. I guess it's I'm not sure what show it is, but, it's not important. They have the, the movie trailers and the food service all there. I mean, it's okay for them to have
Welby,
open.
MD.
Marcus Welby, MD?
Yeah. That's
Marcus Welby.
I've been waiting for the reboot of that my whole life. But yeah, Jeffy, you're right. It's Dr. Patrick Soon-Cheong. He's a billionaire who purchased it. It's got 366 beds.
It's a big hospital.
Yeah, I mean, the Times reported that the owner planned to create a coronavirus research facility on the campus that would attract doctors and experts on the virus and relieve pressure on other hospitals.
Sure, but we got to get this movie shot first, man. I'll get on that. We're going to make that special COVID-19 thing, but we got to shoot this movie first.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder if the people in California, why more people aren't protesting these things and waking up to the double standard that's going on with Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to eat at outdoor restaurants, but
Hollywood can.
Right.
Well, and that was his excuse, right? I mean, he said, look, I know that it appears that way, but these people get tested and they're, if you read between the lines, they're better than you. So they're worth more than you. So zip it, okay?
Well, there's also the problem that they started all of these special COVID places in the spring and used none of them.
Yeah.
Because it didn't get as bad as they thought it was going to in the spring. And, for instance, New York brought in that huge Navy ship with, what was it?
Collected dust.
Several thousand hospital beds. Nobody came.
Yeah.
I mean, literally 5 people went. And so they shut it down. And the same thing was happening all over the country with hospitals like that. So then you start doing something else with it. Now all of a sudden, okay, it's bad again. Now we need your hospital again. So it's hard to blame an entrepreneur who's trying to do something with the hospital.
Right.
And it's strange that now we're saying that we're told we're getting a surge again, right? But are we really, is the surge, or is it like the last surge where it was a surge, but not really?
No, haven't you seen the piles of dead bodies everywhere?
Oh,
I mean,
that's what that's from?
I drove around 18 piles of dead bodies on the way.
Is that what that's from? I didn't realize that was from. Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're right, because Governor Gavin Newsom, he said back then California would need 50,000 more beds, and like I mentioned, they only treated 64 people.
Right.
So
Right.
not quite the surge that we were all expecting.
Right, and the thresholds that they use, the hospitals, particularly here in Texas, they say that when you reach the 15% threshold, then that means we've got to up the orange level, and we've got people need to mask up, and people can't go to restaurants.
When you're not even at capacity, you're at 15%.
It's over, right? It's at 15%, so that's not necessarily capacity,
right?
Well, the name that they're thinking of this new show, there were signs outside the film crew had put up that said Triage. That's also the name of a pilot that's been greenlit by ABC. So we'll have to wait and see.
No, that's the title of the new Marcus Welby episode.
Oh, the Triage.
Triage,
with Marcus Welby.
This episode, Triage.
Tonight's episode.
All right, so we have to go to break. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Candid Co. All the things that we would love to do for ourselves, but we haven't done it for whatever reason. For me, I did always want straighter teeth and a better smile. I'm done putting it off because thanks to Candid, straightening teeth is simpler, easier, more comfortable than ever. Candid has clear aligners. They're comfortable, they're removable, they're practically invisible, unlike wire braces, so you can transform your smile without anybody noticing. Plus, your treatment is prescribed and monitored remotely by a licensed orthodontist who's an expert in tooth movement, and it's all done from the comfort and convenience of your own home. Now, Now, Candid only works with orthodontists, never general dentists like other companies. Plus, your supervising orthodontist will be with you every step of the way. So with Candid, your treatment includes remote monitoring by the same orthodontist who created your plan, so you never have to wonder how you're doing. You're always going to know. So I love that. Now, the average Candid treatment, it's just 6 months. You'll start seeing results way before then, and it costs thousands less than braces. So start straightening your teeth today. Right now, all the listeners can save $75 on Candid Starter Kit. Go to candidco.com/Y and use code Y. That's candidco.com/Y, code Y, and take advantage of this limited time offer to save $75 on your starter kit. Who doesn't want to save money? candidco.com/Y, code Y. We'll be right back. I know we've all been waiting anxiously to find out who Time Magazine's Person of the Year is. I mean, all week, I couldn't wait. Well, guess what? Now we know. It's Biden and Harris.
Yay.
Yay. All right, so they named Dr. Fauci and America's frontline workers as the guardians of the year.
Yeah, they had to have created that because they were getting serious fire. Because I thought for sure, when we talked about it this morning on Pat Unleashed, I thought for sure that's who they were going to pick, was Fauci and the frontline workers. How can you not pick them?
Right.
I mean, maybe not Fauci, but the frontline workers.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, for sure.
And so they got some fire. So, you know what? We've created a new space for them.
Guardians.
I didn't realize that Biden and Kamala Harris are the same person. That's interesting.
Right.
Are the
'Cause I thought they were
person of
separate
the
people,
year.
but I guess not.
Nope.
They're the person of the year.
They're conjoined twins.
Great.
You didn't
Yeah.
notice?
I didn't know that until now.
So bizarre. The magazine's editor-in-chief, Edward Felsenthal, he said Biden and Harris won the honor for changing the American story. He said that the two also showed the forces of empathy are greater than the furies of division, and for sharing a vision of healing in a grieving world.
That is agonizing.
They said this is the first time they've
Agonizing.
included a vice president, although she is not actually our vice president at this moment, but that's okay.
No, she's not.
No.
The whole Guardians bit, they said Guardians put themselves on the line to defend the ideals sacred to democracy. In 2020, they fought on many fronts on the front line against COVID-19. The world's healthcare workers displayed the best of humanity, selflessness, compassion, stamina, courage, while protecting as much of it as they could. And they go on to say, they risk their lives every day for strangers who arrived in their workplace. So,
Right.
And they also said Fauci is the one that led the fight for truth amid the COVID-19 pandemic. He fought for clear, consistent messaging.
Oh, man.
Right?
Oh,
being
my God.
fundamental to public health. It says with steadfast integrity, Fauci nudged, elated, and gently corrected a president used to operating in a reality of his own construction, buoyed by the fervent repetition of lies. Interesting. Okay. So the thing with Fauci, he really went back and forth quite a
He
bit.
flip-flopped over and over and over,
Over and
again.
over
And
again.
we've played the audio on the radio, on TV, a bunch of times. He was all over the map. Masks, we don't need them. Now they're imperative. We just need to flatten the curve. Nope, we need to do this into 2021. Shut everything down, lock everything down. Now he says don't lock anything down. Then he says the schools are a petri dish for infection.
Right. And then
he says there's almost no evidence of any spread at schools. So he's been back and forth on this the whole time.
Right.
It's really agonizing to hear him called consistent.
Yeah.
It's been anything but.
Clear, consistent messaging.
No. No. That's just a flat out lie.
Yes.
Time was taking a nap during those
Yeah.
moments when he was.
Well, obviously he is not a Trump fan. So anything that goes against Donald Trump, he's all for.
Right.
Right. Which I know that Trump was one of the semifinalists in the Person of the Year, but there was no chance that he was ever going to win.
No way.
No way.
Well, Jeffy, you mentioned Time getting a lot of backlash for choosing
Yeah,
Biden
they
and
took a
Harris.
lot of heat.
They really did get quite a bit. Now, what they said in response was Person of the Year is not an award, it's a marker. It's history as it's written, whether good or bad.
Ugh.
But again, most of the blowback came from people who were saying, hey, we needed to recognize the importance of all of these healthcare workers and people who were at the forefront of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So here's some of the responses they got. One journalist said, odd, feels like it should have been the healthcare workers and the scientists behind the vaccine. Commentator Mark Searle said scientists who developed vaccines in record-shattering time, frontline workers who risked their lives during COVID. Jacinda Ardern, BLM activist, this is such a ridiculous U.S.-centric choice.
And we just simply forgot about the truckers delivering all the food we needed and the toilet paper that we were running out of during the lockdowns. Those are
right.
About those
we had all
guys.
those firefighters too. Fires were just raging the entire time this was going on.
Yeah.
We've heard very little about them.
Well, it was the peaceful protest. What's going on? Mostly peaceful.
Writer Kyle Smith said, "Wow, the media are so ready for the Harris era. Hire a food taster, Uncle Joe. They're already done with you."
That's not far off.
No, it is not.
Well, and economist Brian Riedel said, with all due respect, Biden spent much of the year in a basement and won what was a referendum on the other guy. Harris was even less visible as a VP nominee after badly losing the primary. It clearly should have been healthcare workers or those working on the COVID vaccine. And a lot of these people that made these comments, they are not right-leaning conservative people. Do you think some other people, even those who work in the media, because this is a response from a lot of writers and columnists, do you think that they're waking up to some of this finally?
I don't know that I think that they may be coming to be able to say that they're waking up, but I think everybody knew, right? You can't not know that Joe Biden was floundering throughout the entire process. You just can't not know. The guy was all over the place.
I don't think they're having any kind of awakening. What they really probably wanted to do at time was just award it to Kamala Harris, but they couldn't avoid Biden. He was somehow in the way.
Right.
So just to make sure that she could be recognized for being the first black female socialist on the presidential executive ticket, they had to throw Biden in there too. So that's the flack they're getting. The flack they're getting for putting Biden in there. If they would have just done Kamala Harris, I bet the left wouldn't mind that at all. They'd be fine.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
They'd be fine with Kamala Harris because she outshone even the frontline workers because she's the first black female to ever be vice president. Or at least vice president-elect.
Right.
Right. And I wonder if they had, which I don't know that they could, but I wonder if they changed the picture around so Kamala was first instead of Biden.
I'd love
behind her.
I'd love to. How many times did both of them say the Harris administration during the campaign over and over again?
Yeah.
I mean, the real intent of this is pretty obvious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Biden's not long for that job.
Well, and it's interesting, too. There were two people that commented. One is writer Connor Friedersdorf, and he said, how are you going to give these politicians who haven't taken office yet in a year when doctors risked their lives on a mass scale and vaccine researchers triumphed with unprecedented speed? And then another one said, LOL, they spent 7 days building media buzz about this only to turn around and pick two people who haven't done anything yet. And that's true.
Yeah. And I think even the right and the left would agree on frontline workers, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we're all pretty happy with the job they've done and how they put themselves on the line and they risked everything for us. I think everybody would agree on that.
We appreciate them doing their jobs.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and also with the Guardians of the Year, how about all the parents that had to homeschool their children and try and make that work all year long? There were a lot of very frustrated parents. That was a super, super hard thing to take on, especially for those who weren't used to doing it or had never done it before. So I don't know. There were a lot more people I think they could have recognized. They didn't. But all right, so that's their choice. I mean, I was really rooting for Amy Coney Barrett and Cardi B. They both got the same number of votes for that. I was really kind of hoping it was one of them, but no, Biden and Harris. All right, so we've got to go to break. We'll be right back. But when we come back, we're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard. She introduced a bill that's going to ban biological males from women's sports. Really controversial stuff. I'm really interested to know what you guys have to say about that. So, all right, we'll be right back.
Why the hate? That's the first thing I have to say. Why the hate?
Thank you. It's got to be a Hawaiian.
Maybe, yeah.
All right, so this is a really interesting story with Tulsi Gabbard. So she's a Democrat, but she's introduced a bill that would ban biological males from women's sports. So this bill would specify that Title IX, which protects people from being discriminated against based on sex and education programs that receive federal funding, be applied based on a person's biological sex as determined by birth by a physician.
How dare she?
Wow.
So
Wow.
they really want to reaffirm the biological sex-based distinctions between men and women in athletics. And the bill would prevent organizations which allow biological males to compete against females from receiving that federal funding. So they're saying it's in order to provide equal opportunity for women and girls in high school and college sports.
Well, yeah.
And she said this has led to a generational shift that has impacted countless women, creating life-changing opportunities for girls and women that never existed before.
Yeah, that Title IX has done that for sure. Right? I mean, they've opened the door.
Well, you said Title IX was created to protect people. It was created to protect women.
Yeah.
And to equal the playing field between women's sports and men's sports, because men's sports dominated, and there were far more than there were women's sports. Well, they've leveled that playing field now.
They sure have. And now men's sports pays for that.
Right. Well, sometimes, yeah. They had to eliminate quite a few men's sports.
Yeah, they
men's
did.
soccer teams went away. Men's lacrosse teams went away. Sometimes volleyball went away.
Some of that was okay. I mean,
Yeah, some of it. And, you know, it happened so long ago. Title IX was what, 70-something? It's been a long time. It's been a long time. And so we're used to it now.
Yep.
So now along comes the trans movement, and you want biological men to compete against women because they feel in their head that they identify as a woman.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. Thank goodness for Tulsi Gabbard to have some sense. Even as a Democrat, there are a few who have some common sense.
Well, we'll see if it holds
We'll
through,
see.
though. I mean, that's,
but at least she's trying. I think that's great.
That's a battle that
It's a tough battle
win, man.
because, man, are they influential right now. The trans movement is circumventing everything.
They sure
Women's rights. Did you ever think women's rights could be almost eliminated by some other special interest group? I never thought so.
I mean,
it's incredible.
They just passed.
It's incredible.
They just did a thing in Norway, right, where if you say anything bad about trans publicly, you're fined and a couple of years in jail.
Yeah, and what's something bad about them? That they shouldn't compete against biological women?
Lock them up.
That's something bad.
Lock them up. And if you do it in private and someone says, he was saying bad things about trans people in private, then it's a lesser fine and lesser jail time.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
It's absolutely unbelievable. Well, Tulsi Gabbard, she's been working on this bill with Representative Markwayne Mullin, who is a Republican from Oklahoma. Mullin said allowing biological males to compete in women's sports diminishes that equality. It takes away from the original intent of Title IX.
Yeah.
And he said, as the father of 3 girls involved in athletics, I want them to be able to compete on a level playing field. I'm proud to lead this bill that would safeguard the integrity of women's sports and ensure female athletes can compete fairly.
You are a big fan of the UFC.
Yes, I am.
There is a trans person in the UFC who broke the face. He's competing as a woman, and they allowed him to fight against women. He literally broke one of the women's faces, essentially. He broke like was it the orbital socket of her face? And he like caved in a couple of bones in her face. I mean, it was really ugly. You just can't have men, physical, biological men, competing against women because they feel like they're women. The bodies are different.
Right.
The muscle structure is different. The bone structure is different. And it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not fair.
Do you think this is going to serve Tulsi well with the Democratic Party?
No.
Oh, no.
Nope.
I mean, are they going to kick her out at some point?
They
Because
are.
she's just making too much sense.
Yeah,
they will.
Such a shame.
She knows it. By doing this, she knows she's out.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, when you are going up against somebody as liberal as J.K. Rowling, who said something about, "Hey, I know what a woman is, and they have periods. If you have periods, you're called a woman. You're a woman." They are livid with her. They're trying to boycott her books and
That's right.
bashing her on Twitter. And this is the woman who tried to help advance the LGBTQIA2+ movement by suggesting that Dumbledore was gay after the fact, that Hermione was black after the fact, that Ron was bisexual after the fact. She went through all this stuff and, pissed off conservatives who had read all this stuff to their kids. And now you're trying to say all this about it? So that's how liberal she is. And now how dare she say something
something about the trans.
About women and trans.
Oof, I know you can't. That's a
amazing.
taboo, man.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yep. So remember the McCulloch family? So a judge yesterday dismissed the St. Louis prosecutor from the case against Mark McCulloch.
Wow. That's huge.
The judge determined that improper fundraising emails by Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner's campaign infringed on McCulloch's right to receive a fair trial. So there were some fundraising emails from Gardner's reelection campaign that raised the appearance of impropriety, and that's what jeopardized the defendant's right to a fair trial.
I mean, she's been saying that she was against them forever to begin with, right? They just had to find a way to get her off of it. So I don't know that moves, the case is still ongoing. Does that make the case stop?
It's despicable that we're still talking about it after all this time.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. These two are facing any kind of problem for what they did. Because what they did was defend themselves and their property. That mob was moving through their property. They broke down their gate.
Yeah.
They broke down part of the fencing. These two come out and just show force and say,
on their own
hey,
property.
Yeah, back off. They didn't fire their gun. They didn't shoot at anybody, and there should be no charges. You should be able to defend your house and your property and
this
your
is
family.
Good news for them. Do you think it's finally moving in the right direction?
I hope so. Yeah, it'd be nice if it was.
Well, it's been really interesting because, what she was writing in these emails, she was trying to solicit money by positioning her against the defendants and her more vocal critics. So,
yeah, I guess the Soros money wasn't enough. So
right.
Right.
It was a huge amount of money she got from George Soros for her campaign.
I know it was her group. It wasn't just specifically to her.
Sure.
Well, and we only have just a minute or two on this, but Rose McGowan backed Matthew McConaughey on hypocrisy from the illiberal left elites. Hollywood has been condescending, she said. So she was giving support to him because, he said leftists and elite media liberals, they are condescending. She said Matthew McConaughey's right. Hollywood has been condescending. Northern elite media liberals, too, and it trickles down far before Trump presidency. Illiberal condescension and patronization has formed how too many think break the class culture. She's really become a pretty outspoken critic of Hollywood, the elite, and Democrats, which is kind of surprising.
She just doesn't care. She's taken on both sides. I mean, she's no friend of the right, that's for sure.
No.
But she'll speak her mind if she thinks you're being a hypocrite on something that she strongly believes in. And I think we know what the things are that she strongly believes in. But she'll go after, even she's gone after some of her castmates from, what was that show called?
Charmed.
Yeah.
Love that show.
I was going to say,
she's gone after what's-her-face. What's her name?
Oh, yeah, what's her face?
It was so agonizing from Charmed. What's her name? I can't even think of her name.
I can't think of it.
Alyssa?
Alyssa Milano.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Friend
So
of the
they're not
show.
even. Pretty sure they're not doing dinner anytime soon.
No, she's still got an ongoing lawsuit against Harvey too. Right?
does?
Weinstein.
Yeah, she's got. I think some of the stuff just got thrown out, but she still has a couple of points that are still an ongoing lawsuit against him. So
Well, she claims that he raped her, right? Isn't?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I
she also, she had written a book, kind of like a book about her life, and she said that he and his kind of team of fixers blocked it and kept her from being able to basically make a living.
Right.
So, but you're
That sounds like
you're
Harvey.
right, Jeffy. A district judge rejected 9 of her 11 claims, including racketeering, but she does still have plausible claims of fraudulent deceit and common law fraud.
yes, she'll get.
against
I mean,
him. So
some of that
Weinstein's
will work.
he's serving a 23-year sentence, so it'll be interesting to see
they
what
still
comes
want
of
to get
that.
him in California yet. I mean,
But-
they're 23 years in New York isn't enough.
Enough.
I've got a common law fraud claim
Against
him
Harvey?
as well.
Yeah.
It's pending
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good claim.
It
Common
is?
law fraud. I don't know. I don't even know
Did
what
you-
it
What
is.
that means.
Common law fraud. What do you?
Your attorney didn't explain it to
Didn't
you?
explain
No.
it to me, but I said, yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah.
Launch the
Okay.
lawsuit.
Those are
Just go
just
ahead and
details.
file it. It's fine.
All right, we got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about one of my faves, Harrison Ford. See you in a minute. Who I like, but at some point, if they just had made Crystal Skull. Harrison Ford, he just can't give up the hat and the whip. He is coming back to play Indiana Jones for a fifth and final time.
Nice.
All right, so this is slated for July 2022. This was announced during Disney Investor Day yesterday with a whole lot of other good things that Disney has announced, including Marvel, Star Wars projects, all this.
Charging more money,
But
that kind of stuff.
charging
Don't
more
worry
money,
about that.
yeah, making you pay for everything. What do you think about Harrison Ford doing this for a fifth time? We were talking off air. He's 78 years old.
Yeah.
I hope the jungle has wheelchair access because
Yes, it will. It will.
he's going to be, in 2022, he'll be 80 years old. 80! I thought he was a little old for Harrison, for him to be playing Indiana Jones when he was 60. Now, it's 20 years down the road.
Right.
Wasn't he 60 when he did Crystal Skull? 60, 65,
Probably.
somewhere
I mean,
in there.
And that was enjoyable. It was good, is what you were thinking about Crystal Skull, right?
Really,
Gosh.
maybe the worst movie of all time. You know,
It's-
done by a major star.
It's up there.
It's
It was
really
the
bad.
biggest disappointment because there hadn't been one.
I know, in a long
For a
time.
long time.
Everybody was looking forward to
And
it.
yeah, I was excited
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he gets into a refrigerator that protected him from a nuclear blast. I didn't realize refrigerators were
Well,
that
just the Samsung
nuclear
brand.
resistant.
Just the
Is it
Samsung brand.
okay.
Yeah, it's just
All right.
Well, I will definitely see it. Would you go see it? And of course, it has to be the fifth and final one because if they waited another 10, 15 years like
Right.
they've been doing,
And that's what
it's
the
gonna be tough to do.
guy that makes the Harrison Ford movies, he said
James Mangold.
Yeah, he said that there's no Indiana Jones without Harrison Ford. So they're not doing
Oh, I
any,
think that's true.
There's not doing he's not doing any remakes with Pratt or any of them, being
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, the new Indiana
Okay.
Jones.
'Cause-
So I'm not sure. Somebody ought to just shut that off.
Yeah, maybe they should have shut that off before the show.
Oh, it was,
I don't know.
Harrison Ford. He's pissed.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't like us talking about
No,
his
he
age on
does
the air.
not.
I understand. Well, it's kind of like what they did with all the James Bond films. You know, they just keep new Bond, new Bond, new
Right.
Bond, new Bond. So I'm glad they're not going to do that with
Me too.
Indiana Jones.
And wheelchair access. I mean, really, what is it going to be Indiana Jones at the home or?
Seriously.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
At 70, he's 78 now, so
Correct.
it's probably. Have they started production on that?
No, I don't think so. I think they've just started the talks of putting it together.
Right.
Wow.
So they start. You say start filming next year.
79.
I mean, he is in great shape. So I only have 4 minutes, but I have to get to this one because Jeffy is an expert on this topic. This is
very
how you
few.
can watch poor jailbird Lori Loughlin's Christmas movies because she hasn't been making any new Christmas movies with Hallmark because they cut ties with her. She is currently doing 2 months in prison for her role in the 2019
time.
college admissions scandal.
So dumb. I said, that is the dumbest scandal and prosecution
time.
of all time.
Operation Varsity Blues.
Who cares? I mean, other people were kept out of USC because she paid fat. No, they weren't.
Stop it.
Stop it. It's not like they cut off the admission. Okay, not one more person. We got Lori
That's
Loughlin's
it.
kid in here. Not one more comes in.
Not one thing. She took a picture in a boat, and she doesn't even know what a boat is.
So ridiculous. Leave her alone.
She's doing her time.
Yeah.
She went in early, like I told her to do, on chewing the fat. She
You did tell
followed
her.
directions. Go in early, get out, because she wanted to be out before Christmas. They're saying that she's going to get out by the 24th, and I'm saying the 18th. I predicted she's
Let's
out
do
on the
early
18th.
release.
Early release on the
Early
18th.
release.
She's done it
I'm for
2
it.
months. I called Felicity with the 11 days, and Lori's going to be out on the 18th.
All right.
Be home for Christmas.
You've called it. Well, you can't catch any of her
Right.
Christmas movies anymore because Hallmark just scrapped them from the
Right,
library.
because she fought this.
Again, ridiculous.
Right.
Again, is there someplace you can find them though?
So
Aren't they on?
There's 2 you can find on YouTube, I believe. Every Christmas Has a Story, where she played a mean news anchor who gets caught on the air saying, "I just don't like Christmas." And then to salvage her image, she took a camera to the most Christmassy town in America. And then there's North Pole Open for Christmas about a mean businesswoman named Mackenzie who's trying to sell her aunt's old hotel and get some assistance and
I
heart.
love that one.
Both of them are
Santa's
kind of a
elves
stretch, though. 'cause
and a
she's not mean.
handyman.
I know.
not mean.
I know.
So,
I
really
know,
a
but
stretch.
she went to the towns and she realized, oh my gosh,
I really do love Christmas.
I do. I didn't mean it.
Yeah.
Now, if people want to find another Christmas movie, I've heard there's one called Christmas Twist. Is that right?
Yeah, one
That-
of the greatest,
thank you.
greatest Christmas movie ever made.
Thank you.
I've heard that's really good. So maybe
is
if there's
really good.
if there's ever a sequel, because you know a lot of these Christmas movies they've been making sequels because people just can't get enough. So maybe
Well, people are clamoring for it.
They always do.
They really want it.
you could invite
So we'll
Lori
see.
back. You know, once she's out of prison, see if she
I'd love
wants
to
to be
have
part
Lori
of it.
That
Loughlin
would
in our
be
movie.
awesome.
That'd be great.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I want to correct myself. I was wrong. They aren't on YouTube. They're available to rent on Amazon. So
Oh.
if you want to see Every Christmas Has
All
a
right.
Story with Lori Loughlin or North Pole Open for Christmas, it ain't on the YouTube. You can rent it on Amazon.
Were those Hallmark or Lifetime?
Those were Hallmark.
Hallmark.
So
Yeah,
she's
'cause
on
Hallmark
another
was the-
show on Hallmark too.
Yeah. Hallmark cut all ties.
Yeah.
They said goodbye, have a
Yeah.
nice day.
They were brutal. I mean, and immediate. As soon as
Yeah.
this thing started, they did that.
You're not gonna right. I don't even know if she would have admitted it and just said like Felicity did. You know, okay,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
They cut ties. We're done. Which was just
Crazy.
amazing.
It's crazy.
Everybody loves a comeback though, right? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's hope for Aunt Becky still. You know?
Christmas twist too. Could
That's
happen.
right. Maybe we'll have Christmas.
You know,
Band
her
before.
life has gone downhill ever since she dumped Uncle Jesse. That's that
Have
was her biggest
mercy.
downfall.
Yeah, that was a shame.
Fact.
Shouldn't have dumped Uncle Jesse.
Nope.
All right, we've beat this into the ground. We're going to break.
I like her.
Becky.
I like that. I do. I really.
On yesterday's show, our question for you was, who do you trust the least? Is it the media, the FBI and CIA, or our politicians? And I can't see the outcome. 57.8% of you said the media. Wow. All right, gentlemen, what do you think?
I think our listeners hate the media.
Just a tad. Just a tad.
Yeah, what a surprise, huh? And they should, because CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, NBC, they're not trustworthy. They're not. And there are some politicians, I think, who are trustworthy. Almost none of the media is. So I think they probably made the right choice there.
Well, in our question today, would you take the COVID-19 vaccine? Yes, no, or unsure? And you've both said
I would.
I'm in.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
Interesting. See, I'm a no.
Are you really?
I try not to get any vaccines if I don't absolutely have to.
Really?
So yeah, but
Why
I'm that
do
way about
you-
everything. I don't go to the doctor unless I'm
Why
on
do
my
you want
deathbed.
people to die? Is my question.
Do you
to
think there's
Hillary.
something in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw my son have an adverse
Tracking
reaction
device?
to a vaccine, and my husband
okay,
did
adverse
too as a
reaction.
child, and it caused some major issues. I have
Okay.
family that works in healthcare, and I've just seen too much, so I'm a little more cautious about. I'm not anti-vax. I just am more cautious about taking them, especially if they're brand new.
Yeah. Well, this is the only way I see out. There's no other way. I mean, they're going to continue this mask and distancing thing until such time as we finally get a grip on the virus.
Yeah.
And I think the only way to do it is with the vaccine.
And I don't even know if that will
Yeah,
work,
we'll
but
see.
I hope it does.
Yeah.
It's our only chance, I think.
Something. All right, so if people want to follow you guys,
Chewing the fat. Chewing the fat.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
awesome. Well, happy Friday. Happy Hanukkah. See
too.
everybody back here on Monday.